imagine if just to pop your mic on and just let me know so I can put the right boot.
No, of course, sorry.
Martin, has the live stream been activated, please? Thank you very much indeed, Martin. Welcome to this unusual annual general meeting of the council being held in the council chamber at the Ark, where the political makeup of the council is represented by a proportion of each of the political groups. The meeting is being live streamed via the Bolsover District Council YouTube site, and in addition, members not in attendance in the chamber are also able to observe the procedures online, but as the current legislation requires, not participate in the meeting. The first item on the agenda is the election of chair, and I will now hand over to Officer Lee Hickin, Director of Corporate Resources, to run this agenda item. Lee Hickin.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. I would like to invite nominations for the position of Chair of the Council.
Can I move Councillor Tom Munro as Chair of this Council? Thank you.
Are there any other nominations? Seconded, sorry. Are there any other nominations? If there are no other nominations, then we'll move directly into the vote.
Second.
I do apologise. Do we have a seconder?
Councillor Deborah Watson, leader of the Independent Group. I'd like to second Councillor Tom Munro as chair of this council for the ensuing year. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other nominations, then we'll move directly onto the vote, and votes can only be made from the room. So all in favour? And that's unanimous. So in that case, Councillor Tom Munro is duly elected as chair of Bolsover District Council.
Thank you very much indeed, members. Thank you very much indeed. I should like to thank you for re-electing me to the position of chair of this council for a further term of office. It is my intention to work collaboratively, that's a big word, isn't it, with the chair of our Alliance Council, Martin Thacker of North East Derbyshire District Council, on a number of joint fundraising projects this year, with all of the proceeds being donated to the Ashburgate Hospice Care. I do hope that as many of you as possible will want to support the events that we hold, and I look forward to serving Bolsover Council and all of our residents to the very best of my ability, and I thank you. And I now ask your forbearance while I sign the declaration of acceptance of office. Right, thank you very much indeed. We'll now, if we may, continue with the meeting. So the next item on the agenda is apologies for absence, and can I advise all members observing the meeting, you're not required to tender apologies as this is such an unusual scenario we're in. Okay, so are there any other apologies of absence, please? Nicola, have you had any others?
Yes, Chair. Councillor Ross Walker has sent his apologies.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes, Councillor Bailey?
Councillor Dan Salt.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm sure they've been noted. Right, we'll move on, if we may, now to agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Do any members present, please, have any declarations of interest in any item on the agenda that they need to declare, please? No, thank you. Moving on then to agenda item 4, which is the election of vice chair of the council. Can I invite nominations, please, for the vice chair of the council? Yes, Councillor Dooley.
Yeah, it is my pleasure to move Rita Turner as our vice chair for the coming year.
Thank you. Does that nomination receive a seconder? Yes.
Yes, thank you. It's Councillor Liz Smith, Deputy Leader of the Independent Group. I'd like to second Rita Turner for this.
Thank you very much indeed. Are there any further nominations, please? Right, we'll move to a vote in that case. All those in favour of Councillor Rita Turner being Vice Chair for the forthcoming year? That is unanimous. On behalf of Councillor Rita Turner, I'd like to thank you for electing her as Vice Chair. And I would now like to invite Councillor Turner to come up to the front and sign the declaration. Thank you. We'll now move on, if we may, to agenda item 5, which is minutes of the meeting that was held on the 14th of April 2021. And I am pleased from the chair to move that they be accepted as a true record. Does that receive a seconder, please? Thank you very much indeed. That's Councillor Ray Heffer. Thank you. All those in favour, please indicate. Oh, fine. Are there any against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. And now we move on to agenda item 6, which is the establishment of committees proportionality. And now I'm going to invite Nicola Carver, the governance manager, who is going to present the report, which is on pages 15 to 30 in your pack, on behalf of the council's monitoring officer. So over to you, Nicola, please.
Thank you, Chair. Members are asked to give consideration to the proposed establishment of committees as set out in the appendices to the report, along with their terms of reference and their size. There are 3 significant changes to the establishment which are proposed today. The first is reducing the membership of both of the regulatory committees, that is establishing planning with 8 members and both the licensing committees with 10. This would leave their terms of reference unchanged. The second change involves renaming and reshuffling the remit of the scrutiny committees, along with establishing a 4th scrutiny committee, which will operate within the former remit of the budget scrutiny and audit committees. With having 4 scrutiny committees instead of 3, the seat allocation is reduced to 7 or 8 per committee, but this still accounts for all 29 non-executive members. Lastly, in order for the previous year's scrutiny reviews to conclude, it's recommended within the recommendations on page 16 that informal meetings of each of the formally established scrutiny committees continue for a short period for this purpose. The final change proposed within the report is to create a new Employment and Personnel Committee, and that's detailed in Appendix 2. And so with those proposals in mind, the monitoring officer has deemed that the proportionality of committee seats as set out in Appendix 3 are in accordance with the political balance provisions within the Local Government and Housing Act 1989 and recommends this allocation as the best fit. As I mentioned, Chair, there are 5 recommendations put to the meeting, and these are set out on page 16 of today's pack. And both Sarah and I are happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much indeed, Nick, for presenting the report. Are there any members who have any questions, please, on what's been reported? Yes, can I invite you to Councillor David Dixon, please?
Yeah, Nikki, can you just confirm whether the informal meetings will be based on the current members of the committees or the future members of the committees, please?
Nicola?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Yes, I can confirm that any informal meetings of scrutinies that will be helping to conclude the reviews from last year will be comprised of the membership as it stood in May 2019.
Thank you very much indeed. Are there any other members who wish to ask any other questions, either of Nikki or the monitoring officer, please? No, in that case, I'll now invite Councillor Steve Fritchley to move the recommendations on page 16. Councillor Fritchley.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and good morning, colleagues. Firstly, I'd like to formally move the recommendations on page 16 when I find them, and perhaps do a bit of a roundup and reasons why and all this sort of thing. So, firstly, Chair, I'll move recommendations on 16, and if you get a second, I'll continue.
Councillor McGregor will second.
That's been seconded by Councillor McGregor, the Deputy Leader. Okay, over to you, Steve.
Right, thanks, Chair. Past few years have been proved to be a baptism of fire, I think, for a lot of members. Can you hear me? That's okay. And councillors have had a lot to contend with, and I don't just mean the pandemic, although that hasn't helped. Equally, the past few years have shown us that looking to the future is even more imperative today than when we embarked on our ambitious programme a few years ago. You all need, and I think you all recognise that we need to realise our growth potential in the leisure and tourism area, and that we must also demonstrate we intend to remedy the antisocial behaviour that blights our communities, which has been more prevalent, I think, this past year. This is why I've chosen a new emphasis within the cabinet responsibilities by creating leisure and tourism and enforcement and partnership portfolios. I've always been an advocate of committees, and I'm on to scrutiny committees now with powers, but the present regime does not allow for that. However, the following, in my opinion, is an admirable substitute. This is why I'm suggesting more extensive terms of reference for the scrutiny committees, and allied to this, I want to see an additional committee to scrutinise finance. This will give members the opportunity to gain additional hands-on experience. Of course, it will also mean an additional chair and vice chair, and this too will give members the opportunity of gaining also more experience. The council has accepted the need for a carbon neutral approach, and have incorporated the consideration of this across all portfolios and within the extended brief all scrutiny committees. You'll also find that cross-cutting element evident in all committees to ensure or enable members to build a complete picture of whatever project area is under discussion. I asked the monitoring officer, Sarah Sternberg, last year to offer an opinion on the suggestions and also provide a background which is attached. You've all had this, by the way. There is also new guidance for the numbers of members on planning and licensing, which I've mentioned previously. There's still a lot to do. The finalisation of the Vision Bolsover prospectus and the execution of the raft of ambitions contained within it. The MP and I, along with other participants, have begun to establish a Bolsover Future Growth Board to assist in developing projects across Bolsover, executing some of the concepts contained within the Vision Bolsover document. We had an initial meeting, first off, probably 2 months ago now, and it was attended by Bolsover District Council, D2N2, Derbyshire County Council, East Midlands Chamber, their MP and constituency officers. The initial meeting covered a whole raft of subjects, and these included the growth corridor and discussions ongoing with Derbyshire County Council, putting together a bid for the Levelling Up Fund, Tangent, Market Square, Plesley Mills, Technology Centre, Maid Marian Line at Pinkston, Mary, the Clown Garden Village, which is, you know, an alien to some members, the Bolsover North proposal for 900 houses, the Whitwell Colliery proposal for 450 houses, 36 hectares employment land, Bolsover Homes ambition for 400 houses, and Sandra's well on way with this one. Transport issues in the district included Junction 28, buses, cycling, walking, The agenda for the next time will include skills employment update on transport and hydrogen being a way forward. We've had this meeting and it was quite interesting, and they're pursuing all those 3 items on that agenda. Also for the record, Chair, and you know, you've all had this, but for the minutes, the new cabinet will consist of corporate governance, Councillor McGregor; housing, Councillor Sandra P; leisure and tourism, Councillor David Downs; finance, Councillor Clive Mosby; enforcement and partnerships, Councillor Mary Dooley; environmental health and licensing, Councillor Deborah Watson; growth, economic development, Councillor Liz Smith. With that, Chairman, I'd formally, I'll invite questions on what's been said, and I'm sure we'll endeavour to answer them, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Fritchley. Are there any questions or points that members wish to make, please? No, thank you very much indeed. In which case, can we please move to a vote? All those in favour of the recommendations, please show. That appears to be unanimous in the chamber. Thank you very much indeed. The recommendations are therefore carried. I'd now like to invite at item 7, Councillor Fritchley to move a motion to adjourn the meeting. Councillor Fritchley.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. As it shows on your agenda, I would like to formally move without notice an adjournment of today's meeting to reconvene on the, I think it's the 23rd of June, 10 a.m. And we should be in here. It all depends on the government's roadmap. We're in here with reduced numbers purely and simply because we explored different avenues for holding everybody together on today's meeting. But I think cheapest we're going to be 3,500 to 4,000 quid. So, you know, hopefully, we're taking a gamble. If in a month's time we can meet in here, that's fine. We've saved that money. If we can't meet, we're going to have to spend it. So it depends on the success of the vaccination programme and the government's roadmap. So I'd formally move adjournment, Chairman.
Does that receive a second, please? Councillor McGregor has seconded that. Thank you very much indeed. All those in favour, please indicate. That's unanimous in the chamber. In which case, can I thank everybody for their attendance this morning and say I look forward to seeing all members and officers at the resume meeting, legislation permitting, as the leader has just said, on the 23rd of June this year in this chamber. Martin, you can now switch off the live streaming. Thank you very much indeed. And I wish everybody the very best of a very pleasant rest of the day. And hopefully by now it's stopped raining.